Welcome, namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome back to this series of tarot card of the year readings. The last one for the Lover's card was pretty intense. I feel like that was, I guess that's kind of to be expected with the Marielle Tarot. That tarot is one that I absolutely love working with, but the readings seem to just really bring through issues that sometimes, I don't know, I think intense is a great adjective for that deck. It certainly never goes easy on me. Today we're going to look at the number 7 and those of you that have the Chariot as your card for 2026. And I think this card flows really beautifully with the energy of the wheel as the theme for 2026, at least the way that I'm working with it. In that the wheel wants to turn, the wheel wants to flow, as does the energy of the Chariot. The major arcana of the tarot is divided into 3 septenaries, into 3 groups of 7 cards, and the Chariot is at the end of the first septenary. And this is such an important place, kind of winds up the personal journey and is at this place where we are asking how we can better contribute to community, to be out in the world. It's at a place where we sort of turn from the self to seeing ourselves in the eyes of others and out there in the big wide world. I really like this card. And there is one thing here with the card and the way that it is illustrated in the VII Tarot that I think for me has always been important, and that is the pause. So the Chariot is not racing forward as we see in a lot of VII inspired decks, but in the VII deck and a few others as well too, the Charioteer is actually stationary. And I think for me this is important because this reflection, consideration here really fits in with other themes with this card as well. This is a pretty significant arcanum. The Chariot in the Druidcraft Tarot, which I'm using today, is really beautiful. It's a very powerful card. The Charioteer is female, and we'll get that out when I cut the cards. Let me just zoom in a little bit. The wheel in the Druidcraft Tarot is very sacred. This person here is preparing the ground for sacred ceremony. They could be doing something just for themselves, but to me this feels like a sacred place where they are preparing the ground for sacred ceremony. It could be a fire ceremony, full moon ceremony. There's a gathering of some kind, and a circle is drawn. The directions are acknowledged, marked perhaps in the land with rocks or flowers. And I just feel that this card really honors the importance of that. And I really like this connection of the wheel, this meaning of the wheel, that the turning of the wheel in each of these places that we find ourselves in are really important to our present stage of life and season of life. And I want you to start to really think about the word season and its greater meanings, not just the 4 seasons, because we don't all live a place in the world where there are 4 seasons. There are other kinds of seasons as well too. And so this consideration and this place of turning with the Chariot before we head off, where am I going? What am I doing? Do I have my act together? These kinds of questions are really important. And with the wheel, you can see here that, she's doing some preparation for this ceremony. And I feel like with the wheel as well, as a 10 ceremony, pause are all really important before we step off. This idea of 10 as completion is a place of honoring all that has come before and honoring all the beautiful things that we have done up to this point. So let me shuffle, and I will carry on reflecting as we go. Jupiter. So this reading is on the 14th of January, 2026. Jupiter is very close to the Earth still, and in the third decan of Cancer. So in this sign that the Chariot represents. And I really feel that we're going to either be in fire or water when I draw the card, perhaps a really amplified water. And there are, again, lots of potential associations here, other cards that, or other readings that you might want to go back and look at to draw further, to reflect upon more, to draw deeper meaning from this particular reading. Though it really feels like in these readings, just reading the first few cards, I could have stopped there, and that could have been enough in many of the cases. And I think that really is an important thing to acknowledge, that maybe you intend to do a 10-card reading, but there's nothing wrong with, on this day, stopping at the third card and letting that be enough. And you can always come back and not read the rest at all, or read the rest at another time. This is quite the pile of cards we've got here. Wow, and the Chariot is here in the water pile. This is going to be a really dynamic reading. Okay. So like I was saying, Jupiter expanding the water. That's sort of the energy that we're in right now. And of course, that influences this reading as well, too. And Jupiter as guru, I think, is also important here, expanding our understanding of our water, of our divine mother aspects, of our relationship with mother, of our relationship with the divine mother, are perhaps all going to come forth here. Bottom of the pile is the King of Pentacles, and so funny that this card is here. Do you know, I have had this deck for many, many years, and I don't think that I have ever noticed the sea beyond through the window that's on the left, nor the fire on the right. I was staring at this card. It just sort of came to my mind as I was leafing through the deck looking for the wheel card before the reading, and I'm like, wow, what an integrated king this is. And I think this is a wonderful card to have on the bottom of this pile, in which your card of the year is. Very stable, right? It's very stable. It's very grounding. I think it bodes really well for this reading. Another king right there. And the Fool is here too. The Star, I said, Queen of Cups, Prince of Cups, the World. And really cool that Four of Pentacles is here. We have a lot of stuff going on in the Four of Pentacles right now, the third decan of Capricorn. So here is the Chariot card. I'm going to put that at right here in the center of your 10-card reading. And then, so on either side of the Chariot, we have the Lord, the Emperor, and the Seven of Pentacles. So perhaps a real, betwixt and between kind of message, wanting to expand, yet understanding how important reflection is at this time. So the Seven of Pentacles is your first card. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and King of Pentacles is here. So how lovely is that? Hi, Dishi. Welcome. I am not doing personal readings right now. I will be doing that sometime this weekend for the new moon, the first new moon of 2026. So come back, keep an eye on the channel. This is just a quick reading for those who have the number 7 as their energy for 2026. So I hope to see you. Hope to see you then. All right, I feel like the lighting, it's hard reading at night, but I do really love these morning and evening readings. Kind of like reading in the dark. All right, here's your chariot there. Okay. So like I said, 7 of Pentacles is the first card. So 7 aligns with the 7 of the Chariot, which sits really nicely. It is Pentacles. It's very grounding. And there is a really important message here. And that is sort of a conflict in details. Okay, so this will be an important reading for you, Tishi. And this, I'm not even sure. I think this is quite maybe a personal take on this, but the figure here is has a small scythe and is cutting the mistletoe away from the tree. All right, so a little bit different than the Pamela Coleman Smith artwork. And I believe the intention here is that because mistletoe is a parasite, and if we take away the parasitic plants, that we will help this tree to thrive. It's a management thing. And I think we need to be careful about how we are working with the plants, the giving and the receiving. When is enough? How do we harvest? How do we not take more than we need? How do we serve the plants by helping to make space and thin out so enough light gets in without causing harm? And I know there are a lot of natural rules for this sort of thing. You know, never harvest more than 50%, never take more than you need, never take the first plant nor the last, things like that. And I really appreciate this 7 of Pentacles. So 7 also connecting us to the energy of Venus and the sensorial experience of this world in which we live. And I think it is important to be in great relationship with it. And then the 4 of Pentacles. So we have 7 of Pentacles and then 4 of Pentacles. The 4 of Pentacles kind of closes that energy down. Both of these figures have their backs to us. There's a sense of, I don't want to say closed offness, but not an openness of heart, let's say that. And this is such an important card right now showing up here. So the sun is in this decan, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, Venus and Mars, and Mercury is on its way into this decan. It's at 20 degrees of Capricorn. And the sun is shining bright here in this decan. It is not necessarily a card of hoarding or miserliness. It has a great potential to create a new foundation for all that we are building and creating. So how can we put this together with this energy of the Chariot, this wanting to go ahead, this wanting to go forth, ready to move on to something new, feeling quite confident and sure of oneself? And I really feel like there's indeed a message to pause and to reflect, kind of checks and balances. Have I done due diligence to get everything aligned? Am I truly prepared for this next step? Your next step is 100% assured with the World card being here. So I mentioned that your card of the year, the Chariot, the 7th arcanum, is at the end of the 1st septenary, while the World card is at the end of the 3rd septenary, very much in alignment. So not only do we have a 7 here, we have a 7 here and a 7 here. So I would really, this feels kind of beautiful, 777, the number 21, you've got the 21st arcanum. So you are indeed ready for this next step, this next stage of your life, but there is business to take care of before you head off. There may be things to finish up. There may be people to thank. It just feels like I don't want you to rush ahead. And it feels like it involves those around you, the environment around you. And some of you will be thinking about physically moving home, changing relationship, changing occupations, graduating from school. Some of you may be retiring. And I think the advice here is to spend a couple of months just taking care of the details, making sure you've got a big picture of everything. Make sure you're seeing the whole thing, even asking advice from others, confirming that you haven't missed any details. There's another interesting connection here. So on the tree of life, the Chariot moves in a vertical path from the 3rd Sephirah to the 5th Sephirah, from Binah to Geburah, from water to Mars, from the Great Sea of Binah to Mars. And across the tree of life, on the other pillar, the Hierophant moves from the Kings, from the 2nd Sephirah to Jupiter. And this is a parallel reflection. So this is one of the decans of the Hierophant. And I'm just kind of thinking of other reasons why the 7 of Pentacles is here. And I think it really speaks to balance. That's always an important issue. Something you want to check in with, listening to. I mentioned about listening to advisors and so forth. And then I'm also mindful with the sun in Capricorn, all this energy in Capricorn, and us having this particular card here, that we want to be mindful of the lessons of the devil, which is the card that represents Capricorn as well. And that is one that really asks us to check that we are doing everything for the right reason, that we're making good choices. And that if part of this wanting to bust out is to get away from something, it's that, again, we don't want to be burning bridges, okay? Prince of Cups. Queen of Cups. You probably saw a lot of these cards when I was leafing through them earlier. And the Star. So that's a lovely arcanum to have here. And I will zoom out again so you can see everything on the table. All right, so the Prince of Cups is moving in the direction that I laid the cards. The Queen of Cups faces the opposite direction. The Star's body gently sort of moves in the direction forward. And I think the Star is a great symbol of renewal. The Star is a card that I mentioned in the description box below, that there is a loose correlation there, that the Star is 17 and this is 7. And so it feels auspicious that this card is here. This is a card of cleansing and freedom and new opportunities. And with those two court cards preceding this, one of the checks and balances that is so important is asking, what does your heart truly want? What is your heart calling for? You're not listening to what you think other people expect, what society, family is wanting from you. This is about truly coming into your heart and asking your soul, yourself, am I moving in alignment with with what feels like it's authentically me? And when we have an opportunity to move through the 21st Arcanum, and then we get these lovely water court cards and the gentleness and cleansing of the star card, it feels like you want to also be mindful of protecting yourself a little bit. You feel kind of vulnerable, especially when you move in alignment with your truest sense of self, with honoring your authenticity. And maybe you haven't done this for some time. You know, maybe one of the things you're leaving behind is the implied restrictions and limitations that the Four of Pentacles may represent. And yet, when I turned to my phone and I was getting everything set up for this reading, it was 4:44. And I love seeing a 4 in a reading because 4s are about foundations. And so it kind of feels like you're moving from a place of security. And this can be read in a positive way as well, too, that you're moving from a place of reciprocity and that all is well here. So get out your journal, or just writing down a question on a little piece of paper. And sometimes we don't need to write at lengths. It's just something we can take into our dreams, into your sacred slumber. And as you fall asleep, just checking in with, what is it? Where's my heart at this time? And am I being true to who I am at my highest level? You saw, I think the Fool was in this group of cards as well. I'm not sure if it's going to be here, but the Fool also reflects this as well too, in that in the star, in that it's completely open-hearted and moving away from expectations. So there will be some of that to leave behind, I think, without a doubt. Okay, so here is the Fool. So this is a really interesting pairing of cards, having Star and Fool next to each other. These are very different places in the major arcana, 0 and 17. And you have the World card and the Chariot card as your card for 2026. These are all like together, they tell this very emphatic story about needing to go. So if you have been second guessing about leaving, changing, don't. The answer is yes, it's time. It certainly is time, and it feels like a bit of a solo journey until you get clearer on what your heart wants. Because sometimes we can be very clear that, yes, it's time to go, but we don't always have enough information about what is in our highest, what is in our best interest. Now, I mentioned that on the bottom of the pile was this card, and this is the King of Pentacles. And you have the Four of Pentacles here, and the Kings can be read as the number 4 or number 14. And it feels that underneath all of this is a great foundation, a great deal of solidity. And so this is a very positive reading for this transition that you are preparing for, that you're moving from a solid place. And so I feel very happy for you. I wouldn't doubt this in any way. The only thing here that is a little confusing is the multitude of directions that all of these figures are facing. Some are going right, some are going left, some are going forward, some are going back. They're kind of going all over the place. And I think part of that is a reflection of your lack of clarity on where does my heart truly lie? Spiritually, physically, mentally. Yes, I've always dreamed of this, but am I ready for that yet? Am I prepared for that? Is that the best direction for me at this time? So I think that's why at the beginning I was picking up on this need for some, a bit of a pause, reflection. It can be journaling. You can talk about this with friends. But the danger of that is that you're going to get too many points of view. Sometimes it's better not to ask and just turn within. But sometimes we need to hear what others have to say, and that can help us make a decision, because then you can say to yourself, oh, you don't know me at all. We've been friends for a long time, but that's not really what my heart wants. And so that can sort of, I don't want you to get your back standing up about a particular issue, but that kind of response sometimes also makes it easier to move on. King of Swords, very wise. And Eight of Wands, Sagittarius card. Another card of movement. So let's just kind of go around here. I want to check a couple of other things. So we have 3 earth cards down at the bottom of this wheel holding this reading in place. We have, so this is a Saturn earth card, so lots of earthiness. Then water, water, air, 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 and fire. So this is the only fire card, and yet it's an 8. So lovely to see an 8 here, because 8s balance 7s. Hi, Pavani. I'm just winding up a reading here for those people that have the number 7 as their number for 2026. And on the weekend, I will be doing readings on the day of the new moon. So please come back then. And so the number 7 is very focused on, like I said, the sensorial experience of being here in this world. And so we need to balance that with clear thought. And 8s certainly have that. This is the 8 of action, the 8 of creativity, the 8 of fire, and it is the planet of Mercury, if you're reading through Golden Dawn associations. And so Mercury, Hod 8, balances 7, Venus. And I suppose that also makes sense in terms of what I was saying about the my intuitive take here on, yeah, let's pause and get organized before we take off, before we break up, before we retire, before we move on, okay? But everything points here to a big yes, okay? So this is really positive. There's no, I feel like there's no financial issues either Like you will find your way through this. And the solidity of the cards here feels like there's a sense of wisdom as well too. I mentioned that the path of the Chariot and the path of the Hierophant are aligned. Well, your King of Pentacles also supports the Hierophant story. And the king is on that path of the Hierophant. So I feel like you've got this. You really do have this. Now, in the third decan of Capricorn, where we are now, is the fixed sign of air, Aquarius, and you have the court card, the King of Air, for that. And this speaks to higher thought, higher mind. It's also like the place of astrologers and things like that. But this is a journey. Aquarius is a journey through both air and water, through mind and through heart. So it's important that your heart and mind are aligned before you venture out. Okay? So let me know how this connects to all that you are moving through at this time. And come back later and leave me a comment below. I have been peeking at the 11th card in these readings, and this one is the 10 of Swords. And I think this, and I must say, so I know a lot of you've heard a lot of these readings. I've done a bunch of them. That this is not meant to be 1 through 10. This is not January through December. This is a complete story, a complete reflection. The 10 of Swords here as the 11th card, the next one that would show up in the reading, kind of an important number, 11, is a card of complete surrender. And it is the card decanically that precedes the Chariot. It's the last card of Gemini. And so surrendering to the process, and that involves, letting go of expectations, letting go of this and that, releasing too much control is going to be really important. Listening to your heart and knowing your heart. Okay? Thank you for being here, and have a lovely rest of your day. And like I said, I'll be back for on the weekend to do readings for the new moon. Namaste.